Okay, good morning. I'm going to give people just a few more minutes to see who all is going to jump on. Um, so did you so yesterday was Honors Project 1's due dates. I'm just kind of scrolling through to make sure. So you took pictures of all sides? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And
Uh,
then
I
I've
sent
got.
in a video too.
Okay. What about, remember there's three pieces, the box, what about the resume?
I sent a picture of that. Do you want me to send a Google Doc of that or?
Yes, if you don't mind, if you'll give me a Google Doc of that,
Okay.
that'd be great. Oh, I see your picture, but yeah, still, if you don't mind going in, and just putting that, Google
We'll
Doc,
do that
that'd
right
be
now.
great. Okay, did you take a second to look, I don't know that you've even messed with it, with Honors Project 2?
Yeah, it said I can't even do it until tomorrow.
The Honors Project? What?
Oh no. Um, I thought you were talking about the test. No, I haven't
Oh,
done
no, no.
that.
Because one thing that I was going to make sure that I put in the video for all honors is to make sure that they, what you and everybody else knows, that, and I didn't realize I didn't do it yesterday, but I'm going to put a Google Sheet in there as well, because you're not picking presidents this time. You're going to pick an individual, but I want to make sure that nobody's doing the same individual. So it's kind of a first come, first serve. I'm going to make a list of suggestions, but if there's somebody that you can think of that you know would rather do, but they're not on the list, but here's the exception. I want it to be somebody that is alive and kicking at the turn of the century, like Henry Ford or George. No, hold on. I about said somebody else that was not. Coco Chanel and oh gosh, what some big actors and actresses. But anyway, so there's a lot to choose from, but I want it to be a person that is alive and doing something. Like they can't be just born in 1900. Like I want them to already be alive and making some type of contribution. It could be any of the Thomas Edison or the Wright brothers, or like I'm just throwing out suggestions, but it is going to be just like the presidents, where you need to go in and you need to pick your person. um, I think that's the only thing that I forgot to put in there yesterday, so I need to go back and do that. But I didn't know if you had any other questions about that particular project or not.
No, but I think I might have deleted the resume.
Okay, well, don't go back and redo it, because I saw that picture. Because at first when I flipped through, I thought it was just pictures of your cereal box, but I found the last one that's got your resume. So if you don't have it anymore, don't go back and redo it.
All right.
Okay. All right. So tomorrow is your next assessment. It is a quiz. I don't. Tell me what did you think about the unit test last week? Too easy? What'd you think?
I think I don't think I did good. I think I made a 74, but I mean, it was okay, I guess.
Did you feel like it was too easy?
Well, I guess I should have done better if I thought it was too easy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I mean, number one, it's difficult, I feel like, for you guys to be able to absorb the information in the same way that you would if you were obviously here in the classroom with me every day. Because I don't know how much you guys are going through the PowerPoints and my extra note videos on your own, or even if you're doing that at all.
Charlie's like sorry, but she's gonna be here as soon as she can. But she wanted me to show you that she's
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
really sorry.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Um, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, obviously, I threw a lot of questions out there that we did in the review, but it's a little bit different than when you're doing it in the review versus when you're actually in the test, you know? But I don't know. It was an experiment, I guess, just to see if it was any better or different than doing it through a Google Forms. But the good news is that tomorrow's quiz is a quiz. It is short. Now, I do have a question, if you guys will kind of tell me your opinion about it. Do you feel like you had too much time, not enough time, the time was fine how it was?
I had enough time.
Yeah, that's the other thing, that tomorrow's, again, is a quiz. So I didn't give you much time in order to do it just because it is super quick and fast. I think it's like, I don't know, 15 questions, something like that. It is all multiple choice with a couple of matching there at the end. And it's just about going through your whole ID and SQ sheet that we started last week, and then we're going to continue today and tomorrow. So I feel pretty confident in saying that as long as you feel like you know the answers to those questions and your identifications, that I think that you'll be just fine on tomorrow's assessment. So anyway, we will see. And then I don't know if you guys have seen it or looked at it or how often you check your email, but I know they sent out the student survey for you guys to respond on what's going to happen in a couple of weeks, and if you plan to come back AB, because that's what we're putting in place. That's what we have set up. We organized everything last week on Friday, so we know. Oh, and if we do go AB, I don't know if it says this on the former email, but if we go AB, we will be starting on the 21st, September 21st, which is the very first day of the second 6 weeks. So if you haven't responded to that, respond. That way we know, number one, are you coming AB? And number two, do you prefer A days or B days? So anyway, that's all that I know. And obviously all that can still change between now and September 10th. So any questions about any of that?
What do we do if we didn't get that email?
You didn't have anything sent out from Wheat last week? I'm not sure what day he sent it though.
There was 2 emails, I think. There was one where he said he was gonna send it out later. I got that one, but he never sent it to me. My mom said that she never got it, so I don't know.
Did she get the parent survey?
Yeah, she got that. Like
Okay.
do you want your kid to go back or something like that?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
she got that.
Let me ask and find out, because I thought that it was either the end of last week or maybe yesterday that he was supposed to have sent out. I think it might have been yesterday, because I think it actually got sent to me too.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, it got sent out yesterday around 8:30, 9 o'clock yesterday morning.
All right.
So just double check and see if you got it, or maybe it got hidden by other emails. I don't know. But they do want you to go ahead and respond on that. That way we know what our numbers are going to look like, because depending on the size of the classroom, my classroom can have 12 spaced out, but most class sizes, I think they want them to be around 10 or so. So anyway, we still got a couple more weeks before all that goes down, but it is something that you need to figure out, because if anybody decides to go virtual, you could very much well see a schedule change happen. And I don't know if they've leaked out details as to why, but anyway, that's what's coming. Okay, anything else? And if not, then we'll go ahead and jump into our stuff for today. Justin, do you have any questions about anything?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, no, I didn't have any questions.
Okay. All right, good deal. All right, let's jump into it. So this unit we go through really fast, and the reason why, let me explain the reason why we go through this unit so fast, because this unit actually has stuff that we've kind of talked about already and stuff that we'll talk about again some more as we get into the units that are still to come. So I don't stay with it too long because I feel like a lot of it is kind of repeat and repeat on the information. But today we kind of take a step back. And if you remember Unit 1, Wild West, we talked about farmers. So Section 4 in this unit goes back to talk about farmers a little bit more in detail, but we already have that background information. We already know that farmers are struggling, that they're having to put up with blizzards and prairie fires and, you know, all these things they're having to put up with. But then on top of all that, they're also having to put up with railroad owners charging these crazy high prices. Why? Because they can, because the government's not yet regulating those railroad prices. And so because of that, they're charging these terrible high prices, and farmers only make a profit based off of how much they sell their crop for, or how much they even have left to sell after, you know, prairie fires and droughts and all that fun stuff kicks in. So this section is actually going back, if you've got your packet of notes, it's actually going back to I think that like 5th page, maybe. I don't have mine in front of me, but I think it's like the 5th page in your notes packet that we skipped, that now we're going back to because it's in this unit. So make sure that you're looking through that, the Google slide that I posted in your chapter 13 unit section for any extra info. But let's look at Section 4 today. Tomorrow we'll wrap up and talk about discrimination, and then we'll be ready for you to dive into your unit test. So it's kind of up to you whether or not you want to jump in and take your unit quiz first thing in the morning, or you want to wait till we have our Zoom meeting. We'll go over this, we'll do a review. You do have the option to do it in person if you want to. I'll make sure that everybody knows that today. So if you would rather come and finish your IDs and turn stuff in person and do a review session before you do your quiz here at school, it doesn't really matter. That's up to you. You have all those options. Again, this is a very, very short 15-question quiz, multiple choice and matching. So make that decision today. The only thing that I ask is if you ever plan to come in person, that you make sure that I know, just so I can make sure that my numbers don't get above 10 or 12. They haven't so far. I haven't had that issue because apparently not many people want to step foot in this building unless they have to, which I get it. But anyway, so decide what you want to do before tomorrow. And I think I might have somebody else that's getting ready to join in. Maybe I'm going to be watching. I messed up and put the, what is it called? Put the waiting room on here. I didn't mean to, and for some reason I can't take it off. But anyway, all right, so let's get to it. You've got a couple of questions, and then you've got some IDs for this. But again, all this is going back to that 5th page in your notes that we kind of skipped in the beginning, just because I wasn't ready for us to talk about it quite yet. All right, so we just talked about a couple of things that answer question 26. 26 says, list the factors that contributed to the farmers' unrest in the 1890s. So not only are they having to fight environmental events, but we just said railroads, right? They don't have the power and the money to really argue with these railroad owners, because most of these railroad owners are millionaires, and they're only out for themselves, you know? So they're having to fight high railroad prices, the elements. Obviously, they're still fighting against Native Americans that are coming in because they're on their territory that the government just gave them. Gave the settlers, not the Indians. It's taken from the Indians, right? So anyway, those three things: environmental events, high railroad prices, and lack of support from the government, and fighting with Native Americans out west. All right, 27. So how are we going to start helping our farmers and their situation? Here we go. 27 says, how did the Farmers Alliance try to help farmers? All right, so number one, they're going to start by trying to regulate railroad prices, which is not going to go very well at all. Like, they're going to come in, and it's kind of the idea of power in numbers, that if we have all the farmers in an area coming together and saying, we're not going to pay above this price for you to ship our crops to market, you know, they might negotiate with them. Well, again, that's not going well, because if farmers in, let's say North Carolina, farmers in North Carolina argue that they will not pay above $10 to have their crops shipped. Well, farmers in Tennessee say they won't pay above $8. So that's where the argument comes in, that it's not fair for things to be different in each state, that it should be the same shipping price across the board, no matter what state you're in. So that's where one of the many problems was coming into play, because a lot of these railroad owners own the same line that goes through, you know, multiple states, right? So they were going to regulate railroad prices. They were going to have set rates. So regulate prices, have set rates. That's all we'll put for that one. 27 says, what economic factors caused farmers to support populism? So farmers are going to create a political party known as the Grange. Well, again, it's all about power in numbers. The Grange is actually going to start to meld together. Farmers and workers are going to come together and unite in their cause, and form what we know as the Populist Party. Well, we don't know it today as the Populist Party, because it's one of those third parties that's kind of popped up, faded away, popped up, faded away, right? Like everything else. Like if you remember back to American One, you remember when we started out with the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist. Well, we don't have those today, right? Things have changed and developed into what we know as the Republican and Democratic Party. Well, same thing. This is a party that has popped up and it gets absorbed into the Democratic Party. That's why we don't really have it today, because the Democratic Party is incorporating, fighting for workers' rights, things like that. Anyway, that's kind of more of a topic for another day than it is right now. But workers, part of the Grange, and what am I saying? Farmers who are part of the Grange and workers are going to unite to make what we call the Populist Party, or the People's Party. So, what are they going to fight for? What are they going to want? Again, all this is answered in your note packet. They're going to fight for 8-hour work days, which we know is more for workers than it is for farmers, regulating the railroad, government intervention for fair practices, better hours, better working conditions, better pay. And another thing they're going to fight for is changing what our currency is backed by. To give the American dollar value, we back it based on our amount of gold. Well, gold is more valuable than silver. So they're going to suggest an idea. The idea they suggest is, let's back the dollar by silver, because number one, there's more of it, which means we could produce more money. But if we change what backs or gives value to our dollar and we back it with silver and not gold, what's going to happen to the value of that money? Anybody? What happens to the value? No? Okay, all right, fine. I see how it's going to be. Okay, so it drops it, right? So gold is up here, silver's down here, so it drops the value, right? Well, of course, that is not going to make our millionaires and billionaires happy, right? They're like, no, why would I agree to that, you know? But here's another thing, that if we changed what the dollar is backed by, yeah, you can print out more money because you'll have more, but you're going to be paying the same amount. It looks like you have more, but you're paying out more to pay those same prices. Okay, here's another good example, okay? So if you work a part-time job, so let's say part-time jobs, $7.25 an hour, and they're like, no, we need to be making at least $8 an hour, right? Well, if we up minimum wage, guess what? That money's not coming out of thin air. We got to figure out where that money's going to come from. So what we end up doing is we end up upping the prices of products to get that extra money somewhere. So that, dollar menu, or it's not, I don't know if we even have dollar menus anymore. Like everything's now like $1.50, or $2 menus. But that's what would happen. We would see the price of products go up, so that extra money that's now being paid out in your paycheck has somewhere to come from, right? So, sorry, I didn't mean to get that far off topic from the question, but apparently I did. So changing what our money is backed by was another thing. All right, sorry, let me get back. Last question in this section wants to know, what were the results of the 1892 and the 1896 presidential election? We're going to have William McKinley, who is a Republican. McKinley is going to win back-to-back the 1892 and the 1896. And a lot of it came down to money. I mean, that's your answer. McKinley wins, and it comes down to money. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be extremely honest with you. I know everybody gripes and says that politicians today are corrupt. Well, again, you ain't seen nothing like the politics of the turn of the century. I'm serious. Because these millionaires and billionaires, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, Rockefeller, JP Morgan, Westinghouse, all these millionaires and billionaires are actually giving money to finance the campaign for McKinley, because they know McKinley is not going to go against big business, and they're going to keep being able to do what they want, when they want, how they want. So they are going to finance his campaign, and money talks. I don't care what anybody tells you, money talks, and having that money to spend on his campaign helps him to win. Again, he wins back to back. He's elected twice. Now, he's also going to die in office. He doesn't get assassinated, but he does die in office during his second term. So keep that in mind for later on, because we'll talk about who replaces him. He's one of the Roosevelts, Theodore Roosevelt, or TR, as you'll probably hear me call him a lot. Who also, fun fact, who doesn't love fun facts? Fun fact, Theodore Roosevelt is the youngest U.S. president. Everybody says it's Kennedy. Kennedy is the youngest elected president, but because Roosevelt takes over because McKinley passed away, he wasn't elected. He just, because of succession, the order of presidential succession, he kind of gets kicked upstairs. So anyway, fun fact for you. So it's all about money. That's your answer for 28, is that it's all about money. McKinley wins. He is a two-term president. All right, so your IDs, when it talks about greenbacks, and again, this is in your Google slide presentation about populism, greenbacks are talking about paper money, dollars. Cooperatives, businesses working together. And you're going to see your big, huge million and billion-dollar companies that are working together, again, to kind of keep big business on top. The People's Party is a nickname for the Populist Party. The People's Party represents farmers and workers. 32, William Jennings Bryan is two things. Number one, he is going to be the candidate to represent the Populist and the Democratic Party. Again, they team together, Populist Party and Democratic Party. He represents both of those parties during the 1896 election. So he is a candidate for the office of the presidency, but don't forget him. We're going to talk about him again later, because he's a lawyer, he's a preacher, and he's going to be in a very important case or trial later on. And then William McKinley is president. He is a two-term president. He's elected in 92. I should say 1892, and then 1896. And he is the Republican candidate. Okay. So those are all your IDs. Again, that's information that we're kind of backtracking that we skipped at the very beginning. After we got into your Wild West unit. Okay, so you've got one last and final section that we'll look at and talk about tomorrow to finish up your IDs. Your IDs and SQs are due tomorrow. Again, you have that option of coming in to do a review while we finish up that last and final section on segregation, because we haven't really talked about, we've talked about discrimination when it comes to immigrants, but we haven't really talked about how everything's going with African Americans since the end of the Civil War and during that Reconstruction era. So we'll talk about African Americans and what's happening with segregation and finish that last and final section. It's 4 questions and 2 IDs, so it'll take us 5 minutes to do. And you'll be done with that. We'll review. You'll take your quiz, and then guess what? We get to roll on into our next topic. And I'm just going to throw this out there so it's not a surprise. You've got a combo unit coming up. You've got chapter 14 and 15 is imperialism and progressivism. It's all the isms, as I call it. So these two, we'll do it separately like we did the Wild West and cities, but then when it comes to your test, you will have another combo unit test coming up. And there's a lot of info that goes into these two. And it's kind of frustrating that we have to do this virtually because it is such a big unit, but it is what it is. And like I said, fingers crossed, we're in our last few weeks of having to do all this virtually. You don't have to share, but I'm just kind of curious. Justin, what were you thinking? Were you planning on coming back in person?
I think I'll take the test online again.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I meant like if we come back AB day.
I think I might.
You think
Spring
you
break or not.
might? All right, so are you enjoying all this being online?
Not really, but I still want to be safe enough.
I got you. Blake, what are you thinking?
I'll probably come back.
Y'all are killing me, really? Probably, because I am hating this virtual world. But again, that might be just me.
I don't mind it that much.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, look at you then, just being a rock star. Okay. All right. It's all good. I won't take it personally. Okay. So that's what's coming up. Like I said, shoot me an email if you do plan on coming in tomorrow to do the in-person review. And like I said, you can go ahead and knock out the quiz while you're here, do it online. It's totally up to you. Make sure that you're staying on top of your stuff. I am going to start putting in more grades this week. We're in week 4. So we've got this week and a couple more, and then it's time for your first report card. Try as best you can to make sure that you're staying on top of due dates and assignments and you're not racking up late points on anything. And I think that's it. So if y'all don't have any questions, I didn't mean to go over my time like I did, but if you don't have anything else for me, then we'll call it a day. Okay. All right, well, I'll let y'all go to enjoy your Tuesday, and y'all have a good one, okay?
Okay.
Bye.